5 years these players have been in the NBA now. So we're going to look back at all 30 of the first round picks in the 2020 NBA draft and give them a grade based on how they've been in the NBA so far and where they were taken relative in the draft. So let's just start it out. With number 1, we have Anthony Edwards, and he's going to get an A+, probably a top 5 player in the league right now. So can't get much better than that, and compared to where he was drafted, but obviously finished second in Rookie of the Year voting, actually behind LaMelo Ball, and then was an all-star for the last 3 years, 7th in MVP voting, NBA second team in back-to-back years. Yeah, you don't really have to make much of a case. So let's move on to the second guy here. We have James Wiseman from the Golden State Warriors, and this one's going to get a D for me, not a full F here, even though he was taken over some great players. There were some great players in this draft, but everyone had him as a top 4 prospect. At least most people had him top 2, top 3. It was really between him and LaMelo Ball for the second pick. Obviously, the Warriors would have rather had LaMelo Ball, but you got to remember that the Warriors won the 2022 NBA championship. So who knows if they had LaMelo Ball in there, if they would have won that championship, because he's such a high usage player, and I don't know how he would have meshed with the Warriors. So right now you may say they should have taken LaMelo Ball, but it's possible they didn't win the championship in 2022 if they took him. But that's not why. Wiseman gets a D. We got to look at his career so far. So his rookie season was actually pretty good. He only played 39 games and only got 21 minutes per game. But you can see he averaged 11.5 points. But what people thought he was going to be instantly a defensive stopper, he averaged under a block per game, 0.3 steals, and only 5.8 rebounds. I thought he was going to get more rebounds and be a bigger defensive stopper, but actually showed more on offense than I thought he would, honestly. It's the entire next year with the Warriors and was barely playing, and then got traded to Detroit and actually was extremely good in Detroit that first half of the season. He started 22 of 24 games there, averaged 12.7 points, 8.1 rebounds. But then the Pistons got Jalen Duren, and he just didn't play that much in the next season. And then obviously went to Indiana and got injured in that very first game. The next one here, we have LaMelo Ball, and I'm going to give this one an A, not a full A+. It was great value at pick number 3. Obviously won Rookie of the Year. He's been an all-star. And then, the injuries. You can't really predict that. After his first 2 seasons, he played 75 games, people forget, in his second season, and was looking really good, was an all-star. And then the next season upped his averages to 23 points and over 8 assists, was again looking like he was going to be an all-star. But the injuries have just been brutal for him. 36 games, 22, 47. So without the injuries, this probably would be an A+, but also Charlotte just hasn't won anything, so you still really don't know if he's really good player, not a great player, and he's just on a bad team putting up crazy numbers because he can kind of do whatever he wants. I'd like to see him on a contending team, and I actually really like Charlotte this year in the East with Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball hopefully fully healthy for a season. I think they can make the playoffs. Another reason why this gets an A, not an A+, is because there's so many really good guards in this draft that I think right now are actually better than LaMelo Ball that even got drafted after him. Keep watching this video to see who those guards are and what grades they got, and subscribe if you're liking this so far. Okay, the next player we have here is going to be Patrick Williams. Right now I'm giving this one a D. Patrick Williams, he had a decent rookie season, I believe, so played 71 games, started all of them. Was not showing anything as being a big time scorer in his entire time in the league. He's averaged between 9 and 10.2 points in the 5 years. He's actually been pretty good as far as a 3 and D guy. People don't really talk about him as an elite defender though, so really he's just kind of been like a 3-point shooter out there and an average defender, it seems like, but did get injured in his second year, which hurt his production and development, and then last year started just over half the games. Moving forward next year, it's possible he is coming off the bench to start the season, so that's why I'm giving him a D. I do think after 5 years, the Chicago Bulls possibly are thinking about kind of moving on from him as a key piece moving forward and a potential starter moving forward. So I think they're starting to move on from Patrick Williams. And we did see his numbers go down. I guess it was basically his worst season last year, averaging 9 points, which was a career low. Also shooting 35% from 3, which was a career low. The next one here, the Cavaliers took Isaac Okoro with the 4th overall pick. And I'm going to give this one a D. I think at the time it was a positional need because they had 2 guards. I want to say it was Sexton still back then and Garland. They didn't have Donovan Mitchell yet, so they went out and tried to get, an explosive wing player, which he was decent. You could see kind of similar to Patrick Williams' numbers here. Didn't shoot well as a rookie, 29% from 3, but has picked that up. Went to 35, 36, 39, and 37% from 3 the last 2 years. So has increased his 3-point shooting, but he's just never going to be a big-time scorer. In 19 minutes last year, he averages 6 points. But apparently the Chicago Bulls believe in him because they just traded for him and gave up Lonzo Ball for him. So I guess you got to give him a D, not an F, because apparently he had some trade value still, but he's very similar to Patrick Williams in my eyes. He's probably quicker and a better defender, so I give him about the same grade as Patrick Williams so far in his career. With the 6th pick, the Atlanta Hawks took Onyeka Okongwu, and I'm going to give this one a B+. Again, it was a positional need. Even back in 2020, it seems like the Hawks were trying to trade Clint Capella, and finally, they got rid of Capella, opening up Okongwu to be the starting center. But now they brought in Porzingis. I do think both of them will start. Hopefully, Porzingis will play the power forward, and Okongwu can finally start. But we saw him play a lot last year and was really good. Probably a top 15 center in the league. We saw him not play much as a rookie, 12 minutes, and then up it to 21, almost 23. 25, and then last year, kind of a breakout year, but wasn't starting in the beginning of the year, was starting at the end, got up to almost 28 minutes per game, over 13 points, almost 9 rebounds, and almost a steal and a block per game. So Okongwu, I think next year is going to take that extra step here to go from kind of like an average center to a clear starting center in the league. At pick number 7, the Detroit Pistons took Killian Hayes, and you got to give this one an F. Like we said with LaMelo Ball, there are actually better cards than LaMelo Ball still on the board in this draft that we'll get to in this regrade, and definitely guards better than Killian Hayes. So Killian Hayes still back in the league. I mean, I think he was gone for a minute. Came back last year with the Brooklyn Nets a little bit. He played 6 games last year. I believe he's still on the Brooklyn Nets, and at least for training camp. Who knows if he's actually going to make the roster, but has just disappointed every year. I guess his rookie season he got hurt. I don't even really remember that, but was playing like 26 minutes and could only average 6.8 points, 5.3 assists. His best year was in 2022-2023, 28 minutes, got over 10 points, 6.2 assists, but the 3-point shooting has just been brutal. And right now in the NBA, you can't be a small guard and not be able to shoot the 3. It just really doesn't work. There's very few players in the league shooting below 30% from 3 who are really good guards in the league. So it just doesn't work if you can't shoot the 3, and he can't really shoot the mid-range either. They don't have mid-range stats on here, but I would assume those are really bad as well. So who knows, he might be out of the league this upcoming season. With pick number 8, the New York Knicks selected Obi Toppin, and I'm going to give this one a C because Obi Toppin actually has become a pretty good NBA player and could be in for a bigger season, his best season of his career coming up this next year. He already had the best season of his career this past year with the Indiana Pacers, playing a role on a team that made it to the NBA Finals and played that role extremely well, and was shooting the 3 ball pretty well in the playoffs as well. So for Obi Toppin, I actually like this player, but didn't start a game his rookie year. I mean, the Knicks probably should have just played him a lot more. His entire time with the Knicks in 3 years, he only started 15 games, so they really didn't get to see what he could do. And then his first year with Indiana, got to start 28 games, got over 10 points per game, shot 40% from three. So somehow in Indiana just figured out his three-point shot, and then this year shot 36.5% from three, which is pretty good as well. The minutes came down, but in the playoffs he was actually a big-time player, but the scoring went up. So under 20 minutes a game to get over 10 points basically off the bench every game is pretty good, and to shoot that high of a percentage and just be an athlete like he is that can run the floor and defend. Obi Toppin, a really solid player, but where he was drafted here, there's so many other players the Knicks could have taken in this draft. Like, I know they wanted Tyrese Halliburton, who, spoiler, we're going to get to later. Tyrese Halliburton was in this draft and still is not that close to being taken in the draft, and we're at pick 8 here. Pick number 9, the Washington Wizards took Deni Avdija. I'm going to give this one an A-. The A- is contingent actually on this upcoming year. A lot of people are super high on Deni after that season he had last year. No one expects Portland to really be good or make the playoffs, but last year he had a breakout year. He got 17 points per game, 4 assists, and over 7 rebounds, shot 36.5% from three. The year before that in Washington, started every single game and got 37 points and almost 15 points per game. I was pretty confused that Washington just let him go after a breakout in his 4th season with the team, where he started every game and still is a young player. He's still 24 years old, and finally after breaking out in Washington, they just shipped him off to Portland. I thought a really dumb move by Washington, and I think he would look really good right now with that young Washington team, but looks really good right now with a young Portland team. And I think when this year comes, there was like 20 games last year he didn't start. I think he's going to up his minutes per game to 33, 34 and average around 20 points, 5 assists, and 8 rebounds. Could have a monster year, a potential all-star year if Portland is better than they are and Deni's averaging in the 20s, and he's coming off 2 really great three-point shooting seasons. So Deni Avdija obviously hasn't broken out into that all-star player yet, but I think could this upcoming season. Pick number 10, the Phoenix Suns took Jalen Smith. Again, kind of a positional need at the time, but I'm going to give this one a D. He's still in the league and is a decent role player. Pretty good scorer off the bench, honestly, but played just 27 games his first season. Never really did anything with Phoenix. Went to Indiana and played decently, especially when he first got there. He was getting 25 minutes and averaging almost 8 rebounds and over 13 rebounds, shooting 37% from three, and then had another really good season with Indiana, shooting 42% from three, averaging 10 points in just 17 minutes. Those are really good numbers for a really solid role player. So right now, he's an extremely solid role player in the NBA. Even last year in Chicago, played 64 games, just 15 minutes a game, but averaged over 8 points in just 15 minutes a game, so kind of was a spark plug. Didn't shoot as good as you would have hoped, though, at 32.4%. If he could bump the three-point average up again, it doesn't have to be 42%, but if he can get in the 36-37 range and just get you 8-9 points per game off the bench in 15-16 minutes, he's going to look pretty good. So for a solid role player, I kind of like Jalen Smith. With the 11th pick, San Antonio Spurs took Devin Vassell, and I'm going to give this one a B. Vassell was looking like he could be a really good scorer and three-point shooter early in his career, but as of late, it kind of just looks like he may just be that volume scorer shooter type of player, and this is kind of just what he is in the NBA. Not really a star, not even really like a third or fourth option on a really good playoff team. He may be like the 5th, 6th guy on a team. That's kind of what we're seeing here. Maybe he's like the 6th man with San Antonio, possibly 7th man that can come off the bench and play like 25 minutes a night and get you 15 points per game. That's going to look extremely solid. Those are like 6th man of the year numbers. So I'm going to give him that B. His first year in the league, didn't play that much, 5 points a game. Then picked it up a little bit in the second year with 12 points a game. The last 3 years was extremely good on some pretty bad San Antonio teams. So this year, when they're projected to be better, now they have a bunch of guys that they're going to be playing ahead of Vassell. Like Fox basically wasn't there all these years. Now they have Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. So Vassell kind of getting pushed out a bit by those guys, but like I said, 6th, 7th man playing anywhere between like 20 to 25 minutes a night. Should look pretty good, but the last 3 years, 31, 33, 31 minutes per game, so was playing a ton. Got almost 20 points a game, shot 38.7, 37, and 37% from three the last 3 years. So if he can come off the bench, shoot around 40% from three, 38, 39% from three, gets you 14, 15 a game, he's going to look pretty good. But the Spurs missed out by one pick on Tyrese Haliburton. Imagine them having Haliburton and then getting Victor Wembanyama a couple years later. That would have been definitely a very fun pairing to have. And Haliburton, he's going to get an A+. He started with the Kings, was traded for an all-star in Sabonis. These last 3 years has been really good. An all-star twice himself. Wasn't an all-star this past year because actually didn't have great regular season numbers. 18.6 points per game, 9.2 assists. So both are down pretty significantly from the past 2 years, but showed he's one of the most clutch players in the NBA in the playoffs and is a winner. So you're definitely going to take that and led his team to the NBA Finals when no one thought they could get there. So you got to give him an A+. I was a bit down on Haliburton heading into the playoffs because this dip in production, and the Pacers just didn't seem that good in the first half of the season. They picked it up second half of the season, and obviously in the playoffs were incredible, but you got to give this one an A+. And I believe in this draft he was a top 10 prospect, and a ton of teams pass on him, including Detroit and New York. Next one here, we got Kira Lewis Jr. I'm going to give this one an F. I don't even think he's in the league anymore. If we come down to Basketball Reference, last year he wasn't in the league. The year before that, he was on 3 teams, and he played a total of 28 games. Just his second year in the league, played just 24 games, and third year, 25 games. So he's out of the league. I don't expect him to be on a team this upcoming season. He is listed as a point guard, but he kind of plays more like a shooting guard. It seems just an extremely undersized shooting guard at 6'1". Got to give him an F. Pick 14, Boston Celtics took Aaron Nesmith. I'm going to give this one a B. It was definitely a slow start to Nesmith's career, but has found a role, even a starting role, with the Indiana Pacers on a really good team. So his past 3 years with Indiana have been really good and was one of the best three-point shooters in the league the past 2 seasons. So I might actually change this one to a B+ because of that three-point shooting. He's a 3-and-D guy, energy guy, but can also be a slasher type player and a scorer. And we saw him have some massive games. There was one game he had like 30-something points, and I want to say like 10 threes in a game when they came back. And if you can get your starting small forward to be a really solid defender, an athletic slasher that can get you 12 points a game and shoot over 40% from three, that's going to look really good. So I don't think he's ever going to be a star player, but can be a really good starting small forward. That's kind of a role player, but a starter. Pick 15, the Orlando Magic took Cole Anthony, and I'm going to give this one a C+. It didn't work out for Cole Anthony in Orlando. After the second season, it seemed like it would, because he started every single game he played in and averaged over 16 points and almost 6 assists. But then Jalen Suggs just started playing better than him. Kind of eventually in this past season, Cole Anthony was like out of the rotation. Anthony Black passed him up. Cole Anthony is just very small and plays more like a shooting guard than he does a point guard. So if he can develop more point guard skills, I think he could be good moving forward. I actually like the fit with Milwaukee, who needs scorers. So if anything, I think he's going to have a role on this team as a bench player like he did these 2 seasons in Orlando, 2022 to 2024, where he was playing 22 to 25 minutes a night and getting you 12 points a game, shooting like 35% from three. You'll take, because he's a splashy scorer who can go off for 20 in any given night in just 20 minutes. I still think he could be a good player, and maybe at the end of the season we're talking about him as like a B plus if he turns into their starting point guard in Milwaukee. Because right now it's basically him or Kevin Porter Jr. who's going to be the starting point guard. I don't see a reason why Cole Anthony can't win that and have a really good season for the Bucks, who could even make the playoffs with Giannis obviously still there. With the 16th pick, the Pistons took Isaiah Stewart. I'm going to give this one a C plus. Still is pretty good. He only started 4 games because they got Jalen Duren and now Tobias Harris, but off the bench, I think is a better role for him, like 20 minutes a night. Was going to look pretty good. He's not going to score. He's going to be a solid rebounder, though, and defender. Got to 1.4 blocks, which was great to see after the season prior, getting 31 minutes and getting only 0.8 blocks. So if he can keep up being a solid rim defender, he's a bruiser that's going to rebound, block, and just bring that toughness out there that they need off the bench. Oklahoma City, they like just taking darts in the draft because they have so many draft picks. They take these high upside guys. Didn't work out with Alexei Pokusevski with pick 17. So I'm going to give this one an F. He just never really had a solid run. He actually started 28 games his first year and then 12 and 25 out of 34 games, but never averaged over 8.2 points per game in a season and wasn't in the league last year. I think definitely an F. Never really just panned out. Seemed like he got a pretty good shot his rookie year and this third year. Maybe he got injured in this year. I don't even remember what happened to him. And then I thought played decently when he got traded to Charlotte, but then just wasn't on a team the next year. So you got to give this one an F if the guy is out of the league. With pick 18, the Dallas Mavericks took Josh Green. I think they thought he would be a solid 3-and-D guy with some potential upside to be a good scorer, but just has not shown he can score at all in the league. His best season was 26 minutes and 9.1 points. So for Josh Green, I'm going to give him a C minus. Started 67 of 68 games with Charlotte and still only averaged 7.4 points per game, but has been a really solid three-point shooter the past 3 years, 39%. But I just think he's more suited as a bench player until he can show he's a better defender. It can contribute more to a winning team while playing a big role. I just think it's got to be a C minus here. I can't fully give him a C because I think if he comes off the bench in the next few years, he might be out of the league here pretty soon, in my opinion. Pick 19, the Detroit Pistons took Saddiq Bey. So this was their second first-round pick in this draft. I'm going to give this one a C. So Saddiq Bey is actually a decent scorer. You forget his second year in the league. He started every single game and averaged 16.1 points per game. Recently, he's dealt with injuries, but now finds himself, I believe, on the Pelicans. Basketball Reference doesn't tell you their current team, which is annoying because I can't remember all these off-season moves, but he was actually decent in Atlanta. All right, pick 19, Precious Achiuwa. I'm going to give this one a C minus because he was looking pretty good actually with the Knicks for a while, but had some injury stuff. And now moving forward next season, I don't know if he's going to be in the rotation as much as he was, but a guy that is just going to be a hustle player, and that's basically all he is. But we'll see if he can stay in the league here because he's been pretty below average as far as production, and he's basically just a hustle guy. And if he really doesn't have a role with the Knicks this upcoming season, I could definitely see him out of the league. But for now, I'm going to stick with a C. Probably should give him a C minus, but he's going to skate by here with a C. With pick 20, the Philadelphia 76ers took Tyrese Maxey. This is definitely getting an A plus. Maxey back-to-back All-Star seasons. I think one of the most underrated players in the league. Averaged 26 points and 6 assists the past 2 years. Has been phenomenal. Saw his three-point percentage dip down with a bigger role this upcoming season. But for a star player, if they can shoot around 35% from three, you'll definitely still take that because the volume and difficulty of threes that these star guys with the ball in their hands are taking, you don't expect them to shoot like 43%, 42%, what he was earlier in his career when he wasn't handling the ball as much. Maxey at pick 20, insane value. Definitely a top 4 player from this draft class right now. If you count Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, Halliburton ahead of him, there may be a couple other guys you would put ahead of him, but I definitely think top 4 is what I'm going to say. I would probably even say top 3, and possibly even my second favorite player in this draft after Anthony Edwards. With pick 23, Denver took Zeke Nnaji. I got to give this one a D. Nnaji, I feel like they've given him so many opportunities to be a backup center to Nikola Jokic, something that Denver has been searching for basically Jokic's entire career since he became a starter, and they haven't found it. And they've been trying to get Zeke Nnaji to be that player, and he just isn't. And then for some reason they gave him a ton of money because they thought he was going to turn into that based on apparently these stats you're looking at, which are some pretty atrocious stats. This year was definitely his best. 13 minutes off the bench, and you're definitely going to take the 71% shooting from 2-point range as well, but just 2.6 rebounds a game. Just super inconsistent player. I think after this contract's up, he's probably going to be out of the league. With pick 23, Leandro Bolmaro, you got to give this one an F. I bet most people don't even know who this guy is because he was drafted and didn't play. He was in a league overseas and then came in to the NBA, and actually he was drafted by Minnesota. For some reason I thought he was drafted by Utah with this pick, but Minnesota drafted him. He played in 35 games, but just 6.9 minutes, and then his second year, 14 games with Utah, and got less than 5 minutes, and then just didn't play the past 2 years. So got to give this one an F. With pick 24, Denver Nuggets took RJ Hampton. I'm going to give it an F as well. He was a guy that had a bunch of hype around him for some reason. I guess he had like some crazy like high school mixtapes, and then he went and played in Australia with LaMelo Ball, so I think that hyped him up as well, in the same league as LaMelo Ball, and they were kind of competing, so I think that hyped him up a bit. Still took him towards the end of the second round, so it's not like they put a ton of stock into this. He was just kind of an undersized shooting guard at 6'4", 175 pounds, and basically a guy that relies on his athleticism, which looked good before he came into the NBA, and then he was just looked like kind of an average athlete who's an undersized shooting guard who can't shoot. So I got to give this one an F. So you look at this, he bounced around. His first year in the league, he already got traded to Orlando, and then just 2 years later was on 2 teams, and then got in with Miami for 8 games in the 23-24 season, and then was out of the league, and never really was a great 3-point shooter, 35% or below in every single year, and just wasn't a good enough defender to stick in the league either. New York Knicks got Emmanuel Quickley with pick 25. I'm going to give this one an A because it's insanely good value for a guy who's now a starting point guard on Toronto, and a pretty good one at that. So you just got to hope that he can be more consistent, but also dealt with injuries last year for the first time in his career. So I think people are a bit down on him because of that. But when he got traded to Toronto, started 38 games and played 33 minutes a game and got 18.6 points and almost 7 assists. Was looking like he was going to be great there. And then next year, just 33 games. And for some reason, his minutes took a dip to just 28 as well. But still got 17.1 points, 5.8 assists. I think this next season, hopefully he can get back to 30 minutes a game, 18 points, 7 assists. That's going to look like an A, especially a guy that was drafted that late. Obviously, it's with a new team now. And with the Knicks, was basically not playing that much earlier in his career, then was a 6th man. Actually, he was second in voting in 6th man of the year. So great value this late in the draft. Pick 26, the Boston Celtics took Peyton Pritchard. I'm going to give this one a B+. So Pritchard, early in his career, was just not good, but since then has broken out. If you were doing this after his 3rd season, you would probably give this pick a C, but he was 6th man of the year last year, 14 points a game. He's going to shoot really high percentages from 3, 41% his first 2 seasons, 36, 38, and then back up to 40. Now he's probably going to start for Boston and probably score, I would think, around 18, 19 points a game and get you 5-6 assists per game as well. It's going to look really good, and he could have a massive breakout season with Boston. So right now, giving this one a B+. We'll see what he looks like next year. With pick 27, Utah took Udoka Azubuike. Going to give this one an F. Utah was searching for a center. I think they've probably found one now. They got Walker Kessler, Filipowski, and I want to say they brought in even another center this past season. Azubuike was just one of these centers that didn't work out. So played 3 years with Utah, never got over 11 and a half minutes per game, so was never really in the rotation, and played 15, 17, 36 games. They went to Phoenix, played just 16 games. Now is out of the league, so you got to give this one an F. Pick 28, have to give this one an A. Minnesota got Jaden McDaniels here. For McDaniels, I would say probably Minnesota's third or fourth best player on a team competing for a championship these past 2 seasons, and probably will compete again this upcoming season 3 times in a row with McDaniels as one of their top players. Played every single game last year, saw a career high in minutes with 32, got over 12 points a game. Wish he was just a bit of a better 3-point shooter, 33% the past 2 years. If he can up that to even just like 35, 36, he's going to look way better, but a really good defender, athlete, slasher. They can also score a bit, but mostly a defender, slasher, athlete who's not completely broke from 3. I think a really good pick and player, especially at this value here. You have to give it an A. Second to last pick of the first round, Malachi Flynn went to Toronto. I'm going to give this one a D-. So Flynn has shown extreme flashes of being a big time scorer, but just has never really got a chance to play. So it's kind of like an incomplete grade. But then last year was in the league for only 4 games, and this year probably don't expect him to be on a team, so he should probably be getting an F. But I always just wanted to see him get a chance to play. You'll remember there was that one game, I believe it was with Detroit, when he scored like 50 points in a single game in a regular season NBA game. So obviously had potential. I still think has potential, but just never given a real chance for some reason in the NBA. So I guess you kind of have to give this one an incomplete, but I'm going to give him a D-, not a full F. Okay, last pick of the third round. You got to give this one an A+ because it was the last first round pick, and it's Desmond Bane, a fringe all-star player. Was with Memphis during their great runs that they had just a couple years ago that seemed like forever now, but last year took a bit of a step backwards after almost 24 points a game and then 21 the last year, but still got 19.2. Going to shoot a high percentage from 3, 39, 38, 40, 43, 43. Now with Orlando, I really like him in this spot and how he's going to fit in with Orlando. I think it's going to be an awesome fit there, and Orlando could be really good this next upcoming season. You got to give this one an A+ because it's so late in the draft to get an all-star caliber player. Probably should have been an all-star this season. I don't know when he got hurt though, because he only played 42 games, but these numbers of 24 points and an underrated playmaker, 5.5 assists. I would kind of like to see him play some point guard in Orlando as well, because he can be a ball handler and distributor. Crazy pick to end the first round. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, I'll do a second one of regrading the 2021 NBA draft, and we'll just do a moving forward. But check out another video on the channel if you like NBA content. We'll see you over there.